This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. And you're listening to the Krypton Report.
Look up in the sky, the birds, the planes.
What up, James?
What's up, Tyler?
Happy Thanksgiving, Mr. James Cole.
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving Eve.
As of this recording, but this will be our episode for Thanksgiving.
Ooh, I figured as much.
So
Happy Thanksgiving to all of you listeners.
exactly. Usually we do like a Thanksgiving episode, but we've pretty much burned through every Thanksgiving Superman property.
I think so. But we did another Thanksgiving episode.
Yeah, over on the
our other
Horror
show.
Report. If you're part of our Patreon, the Horror Report, hosted by James Cole. We did an episode on Thanksgiving. So
Yes.
but if you're a Superman fan and want some super Thanksgiving, there is the episode of Smallville that happens at Thanksgiving in season 10. I believe the first 2 seasons off the top of my head of Supergirl feature Thanksgiving episodes. We definitely have Kara heating up a turkey with her heat vision. The final episode of My Adventures with Superman season 1 is set at Thanksgiving. If you could please pass the yams. And let's see here. If there's anything I missed, I don't remember if there's a Lois and Clark episode. My brain's a little foggy. If there's a Lois and Clark episode for Thanksgiving,
That I'm not sure. It's been a good while since I've given that show a watch through.
and of course, there's always the fun that is Teen Titans Go, as me and the kids watch a little bit of. We watch those every holiday season, the Thanksgiving, the Christmas episodes, and everything. And all I have to say is, yeah, cranberry, which is the only way to say cranberry after you've seen the Teen Titans Go episode. So everyone out there, have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. And we're going to kick off our regular scheduled episode with a little bit of news. But first, we have an email that we got here. I'll read it from Buzzsprout here. Things pop up. It states, this is from Atlanta, Georgia. Lorenzo Valdez. He says, I get the impression that having watched Oz kill Vic so recently on one live-action DC TV show may have led you guys to suspect Lex would similarly kill Amanda on another. Klana forever and always, Lorenzo Valdez. Maybe, but I still feel like it's just a Lex Luthor move. I feel like that's his trademark move.
It could go, but honestly, with it being the finale of the series, I probably feel like more she would flip on him and be able to, provide the evidence that would put him away for the rest of his life.
Stop getting into the episode, James. Dang it. But I don't know. Like I still feel like we got that feeling though last week of him throwing her off the roof.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. That's what you said. He thought she was going to pick her up and throw her off.
So I still feel like that's possible. But I get what he's saying. But
I think it's entirely possible. Yeah.
Good email. I mean, rest in peace, Vic. Rest in peace.
Yeah. Well, that was a definitely more serious show with a very dark tone. When it comes to Lex Luthor, and especially this one, how like violent and dark and threatening he is.
Mm-hmm. We'll just have to wait and see. But so the only the only thing of news that I have is that so a couple of days ago, was it Monday? Was it Monday or Tuesday? It was Monday, right? Or was it yesterday? It was yesterday. James Gunn tweeted out, or also blue skied out. I don't know how you what that be, or threaded out that Superman, the Chris Reeves story, is now on Max. So excitingly, I go over to Max, and you know what it says? Coming soon.
Yeah,
So
it's
it
not on there.
wasn't, and then I went back today and checked.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's still not on there. It still says coming soon. Um,
so it's
does
crazy.
doesn't even say a time when it will be starting, when it will be airing.
I know. So it's weird. I wanted to be like, James Gunn, you lied to us.
You
Um,
lied to us so much.
also want to say that we are, if you haven't followed, we are on Blue Sky. We've been on there for a while, but we've been more active recently on Blue Sky. If you're over there, we are all trying to cover all the famous social media platforms. So we are working on that. But check us out on Blue Sky. The other thing, okay, so I'll save this when we get to this part, but today's comic is we're going to talk a little absolute power. It's been a little while. We were doing our experiment. We waited till it wrapped up. We caught up. We finished. Was our goal, and we are going to do absolute power. So, and it was absolute power was it started back in like June, July time.
Yeah, so it's got a. I was gonna say it's got a checklist in the beginning of the first episode. So, first issue of Absolute Power.
So my question for you, James, is how many of the side books did you read?
All of them. I actually read this whole thing.
All right. How do you feel about it overall?
I mean, overall, it was, uh, it was, it was, it was an event. I mean, it felt nice to kind of have an event that wasn't necessarily like, um, rewriting the history of. It wasn't a crisis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
that was
um,
very nice to have.
yeah, but it was very thorough, which you expect from a character like Amanda Waller. Um, just the designs, the plans, um, taking all of the powers away. Um, so like I said, I read the other books too. So like
I think I read all of
Green
them.
Arrows.
Yeah, I read Green Arrows, and I think I read all the other books just as they were coming on the app. Um, I think I enjoyed Absolute Power. It does. I mean, it does kind of spawn out of where we left House of Brainiac.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I the only thing I can say that you could maybe count as a negative is I feel like they played out the failsafe too long. I got tired of that story. in Batman comics, and then that played such a heavy part into this. And by that time, I was just tired of that whole failsafe story. So
I can see. I mean, failsafe was a very long story arc, and so I can definitely see that if you were keeping up on it, like he's just been around for a long time then. But kind of giving Amanda Waller a Batman analog on her side, along with a Brainiac. It was pretty. It was a pretty intricate plan with that and the Amazos. Like they pulled from a lot of air. They pulled from a lot of places to have this plan go off. You know.
So why don't you give us a summary about the event?
Okay. Well, so Amanda Waller. Let me see something here. Wait a sec. Says, thanks to the combined might of the unstoppable android Failsafe and the otherworldly Brainiac Queen, Amanda Waller has finally achieved her goal of stealing the metahuman abilities of every hero and villain on Earth. Can these powerless heroes defeat the trinity of evil and their army of living weapons?
So it's a very interesting concept, especially when you get into the idea of having to steal their powers.
Right, which is where the Amazos come in, and
Mhm.
those were in the main book, but they were actually primarily in like the Task Force 7 books,
Mhm.
going after various amounts of heroes.
The Task Force 7 were interesting stories. All right. So how
I
do
know
you
you
want to
didn't like the initial one right out the gate, but I think
okay.
overall,
So I don't, how do you want to talk? Do you want to talk around this, talk book by book? How do you want to do this?
well, I
'Cause-
mean, I feel like we can talk around the whole thing. I mean, it's been complete. You said you read how many or all of them?
I'm pretty sure I read them all. Like I'm pretty
Okay,
sure I read it all. Like I'm saying, I know I was reading them, so I'm pretty sure I got them all. But I don't want to definitively say, yeah, I did. And then you pull something and I'm like, oh, never mind.
right.
Nope.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to be pulling from every single book here. You know, some
Things
were
are
more memorable than others. Of course, I enjoyed the Superman chapters out of the whole book.
where Superman and Zatanna went on their side mission.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty cool.
Yep, finding a magical way to travel, basically through the dark, through the shadows.
I thought that was neat and just something unique when they kind of tie in the magic. But my problem now, this was written by the great Mark Waid. Okay, so amazing comic book writer. I just got to the point I did not like what was happening to John. Because we had talked about recently when there were things going on. When was it? Not too long ago. We were like, what event
We
was
said
it?
we said where was John, and John was working with the Teen Titans at that point,
Yeah.
with this a spot I didn't know he was, and I didn't read, so I've actually tried to go back and catch up on some of that.
And so John basically gets taken over by the Brainiac mother, and they make him like into like a cyborg thing. And I just did not like what happened to John. Like that's what kind of just soured me on it. But if you've listened to a previous episode where I attached my pitch for I did a couple different pitches for like honoring the death of Superman. And if you'd listen to those, you'd see what I thought about, like with some twists with John. But man, I don't know. I felt bad because I feel like that character, after what Bendis did to him, you know.
Right. Well, you know, I mean, when it comes down to it, we followed John, and like I said, the only thing we haven't covered with him since he's gotten his own book is the Titans area.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's the only thing we haven't covered when we've been following John. So, you know, we've seen a lot of different places that he's come, but he is very much a Superman like his dad. A very powerful piece, you know, to take off the board one way or another. Some lost their powers. Others were imprisoned. And of course, Superman was nearly killed because his powers were taken and he was shot multiple times.
I mean,
so yeah, I mean they took him off the board in that respect, kind of being controlled by the Brainiac Queen and hunting down other heroes. But you know, ultimately he gets that burned out of him.
he does, and he you know, it's kind of that thing we've talked about, like where all the heroes now have these massive, huge families, and you can tell Bendis did not like John, and he brought back Connor, which was cool. But I think John should have stayed Superboy and not been called Superman. And we needed to give Connor his own moniker.
Yeah.
And you know,
you've
Connor,
definitely been saying that one for quite a few years.
and I'm saying it again because Connor, he's at his like what do you call it? Connor is at his what do you call it stage? His Nightwing stage. So
great.
he needs his own moniker.
Right.
So.
It's kind of tough along that side of the family. They haven't had very much very many distinctions when it comes to their namings and stuff. It would be nice to have him kind of start that difference, you know, because Superman, Superboy, Cyborg, Superman, Supergirl, Superwoman.
Yeah, I mean, Superman, Supergirl, okay, Superman of China,
Exactly, and then Superman of China, yeah.
Or they're just like Colin Kanan. But I will say that I found the Green Arrow aspect of the story probably the most interesting.
Yeah, the espionage, the double crossing, the double agent stuff.
Well, Green Arrow, okay.
Wasn't he like put under a psychic by Martian Manhunter to kind of like pop off after so long?
And it was basically made so that he was tricking himself and believing that he was aligning with Amanda Waller under deep cover, so that because he'd be the only one that Waller would believe that would turn, so that he could get good on the inside to eventually be able to help and save the rest of them.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so here's the thing. They make a comment, and I've read Dark Crisis, and I've read all these, but the problem is there's so much, and with the reading that we do, for our podcast, then the reading I do for other podcasts, and then just the reading I do for myself. Sometimes little details I forget because they mentioned there's like this Amanda Waller or something's from a different Earth. Was that a fallout from Dark Crisis? Because they talk about this
So
Waller
there
being
was
different.
it was when she I don't think she's different. There was a time during what was that event? It was it Crisis on Earth 3? She had gone to Earth 3 and had spent some time over there, and that's why she's got like the backup of like Donna Troy's Superwoman
Mm-hmm.
and those others that come through the portal as kind of like her last resort.
Because I was trying to remember because they like I said they make comments and I'm like, yeah, I don't
Yeah,
remember.
that's when Amanda Waller was doing the Suicide Squad. Um, when right after Peacemaker had kind of made his resurgence in the comics, and that's when she was doing the Suicide Squad then, and she ended up having to flee Earth because she was wanted, and she went to Earth 3, and that's when they had like the crisis on Earth 3, and they had the Flash was involved. Um, it was a small crossover event of a few books.
Mm.
So I think that's what they're referencing. I don't think that
Okay.
this is
Okay.
an Amanda Waller from the multiverse. I think it's
And that's
because
why,
she escaped to Earth 3.
and that's what I was like, okay. I was like, all right. So, but I liked Absolute Power, but I didn't love it. You know what I'm saying? But did you read the Amanda Waller books, like about her like history and everything?
Yeah, the Origins ones,
Mm-hmm.
talking about mostly like her um, her doing what she does in government and the impact it has on her family, her children, her
Yeah.
relationships with her children.
So it was interesting.
So, yeah, it's funny how Green Arrow's the one who gets to fire off the arrow. You talk about him rescuing everyone. He gets to fire off the arrow that like releases all the powers from the Amazos, and they flood back into all the heroes,
I like how like they
which
talk about
is awesome splash page.
the Amazos like learning, but also like developing and being inspired because they're adapting the skills of the people that they're taking over. So like they're starting to feel their actual emotions as well.
Yeah, like the which one was it? It was it with Alan Scott, and it was with the Alan Scott Green Lantern in the book, and the Amazo took his, what is it, the Starheart,
Mm-hmm.
and he became a Green Lantern and was like learning um, morals and stuff from Alan Scott, and ends up becoming the guardian of the green battery that's on Earth. That's like hidden on Earth.
It was cool.
Yeah, and I was just trying to remember the name of that one, because it the Amazo kind of came up with its own Green Lantern style name.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really cool. Alan Scott just doing the um, talking to the Amazo. Literally having like a philosophical discussion with Amazo about right and wrong and morals and stuff.
I think it's neat that you can do that. So I enjoyed Absolute Power for what it was, but it's not one of my favorites. But I do appreciate it being a big event that's not a crisis, because I feel like we haven't really got. I mean, we got like the nightmare thing, but
Right.
I don't know. This feels better.
Yeah. Can I say though, I love in DC lately how the bar, the magical bar, trying to remember the name of it, but
James's
where James, yeah, where all the mystical creatures live, not live, but hang out and drink and stuff like that, and they use it to hide out. I've seen it so many times lately. It keeps popping up, and I wish I had the name on the tip of my tongue, and now I'm blanking on the name.
James Coles. That's the name of it.
No, I feel horrible now. But yeah, just I love how that bar keeps showing up now over and over again. It's in the Task Force books, and Superman and Zatanna meet Neron there.
So, I'll have to look it up. Anything else you want to talk about for Absolute Power?
No. I thought it was pretty cool. It was a decent event, kind of, to build up to what we've got now, to the stories, the comic books we're reading now with All In.
All In, which we'll be talking about that next month. We'll just kind of catch up with the All In special, and there's kind of some of the books as we'll be catching up on comics, building up to the All In here before the year is up, or even the month. I think. No. This is our last one for the month. I keep forgetting. So. But yeah, we'll be catching up on comics here in like 2 episodes. All right.
Oblivion Bar. Haha.
Oblivion.
The Oblivion Bar, yes, where I believe Detective Chimp actually runs the joint now, and Blue Devil is a bartender.
Blue Devil.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh, well, I guess one last thing I can mention is Dreamer's importance in this story. Her in the beginning, and her manifesting in John's subconscious, and coming out of his dreams to be real and alive again.
Yeah, and it was because of Dreamer that helped John get pulled out of it.
Yeah, get freed from the Brainiac Queen's control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and those stories were written or co-written by Nicole Maines as well. So she's still all in on Dreamer content in DC Comics.
All right. It's that time again, James. It's that time again for... Is it not playing? I said it was playing.
What? Yep. All right. Stop.
It was weird. It was like it played and it said it was playing and then it didn't play. It's time to talk Superman and Lois. Season 4, episode 9.
The penultimate discussion. Sorry.
The penultimate episode.
What was the name of the episode?
To Live and Die Again.
There we go.
Now, before we get into this episode, I meant to talk about this last week. Some things that I discovered while rewatching this season that I think we might have missed. In the wedding episode, you hear in episode 2, you hear about the Sullivan farm. So in passing. But in the wedding episode, Kyle Cushing makes a thing about PD in class. And the way that he alludes to it, it sounds like Pete might be dead. He says, I can't believe you died. First PD from class, and then you. So that's could be an allusion to Pete Ross and that he died in this world.
Oh no.
So yeah. I was like, dang. I was like, whoa. But it was just, like I said, stuff I picked up while re-watching with Solomon. So
no, that is the beauty.
But the season 4, episode 9, Lois struggles against the fallout of the debate. Clark uses Luther's tactics against him, while Jonathan and Jordan prepare for impending battle. Pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
It's there. So I got my handy dandy notebook because I took a bunch of notes on this one because, that's how I roll.
Yes, sir.
But let's get into it here. When it starts, the Clark and the boys are discussing like what to do, and John makes the comment, "We need to take him out." And Clark's like, "No." How did you feel about that idea, James?
Totally cut out. I did not hear anything.
Yeah, it was weird. It's like, yeah, it was weird. Like, you froze, and I was like, I said at the start of it, it says, John says, we need to take him out. And Clark says, no.
That's not how we do things.
I was like, John's, onto something here. Like, he's going down a path.
Yeah, that I was like, well, that I at least like the fact that they're making some even allusion to the thoughts that you would have in that respect, especially having the two boys. Maybe we discussed down the line if one would go bad or this or that. It at least throws out the idea that they do have this thought, and it's something that they have to ignore and not act upon, no matter how much they would like to.
Mm-hmm.
Just to end Luther.
So the boys leave and head to Vicky Mays, where Vicky Mays is now covered in Superman, Superboy merch. We see a Tyler-based Superman figure. Where is this figure? Why do I not own it right now? Why is there no Tyler-based McFarlane?
Tyler is waiting for his Tyler figure.
I am. We see, like I said, Hatch. We find out that John has a French dip named after him. And Jordan has Jordan's loaded curly fries that are on the kids menu.
It's funny it's on the kids menu. That was a big old loaded curly fry. And they made it look like his curls. It was funny.
When they drop it down, like it's in a little like cup that has like his face with the goggles,
Yeah.
Jania says, hold on. Wouldn't that be things that's their property? Shouldn't they have a lawyer and they should have cut that they own that symbol? I was like, that's my woman. That's my woman. Now, I put
in the comics when people do it, Clark doesn't ever. He doesn't.
I would
go after anybody for copyright law. For
I would
spreading the idea of his hope around. You know what I mean?
I just have like 10% of it go to like a Smallville fund for the community.
Right.
You know, to give back like a relief fund for like when someone's struggling.
The
Like they
bare
can apply.
minimum, the bare minimum taxes on your property.
You know what I'm saying? Like a community fund where if someone's having
Yeah.
like loses their job and can't pay their month's mortgage, they can dip into the community fund and pull money. I put in my notes, I want that doll. Because now, James, as the boys are in Vicky's maze, did you happen to pay attention to their attire?
I mean, I noticed Jordan was kind of wearing a red hoodie.
Jordan's wearing a red hoodie and John's wearing a blue hoodie.
Oh, is he?
Almost the exact same hoodie. And Jordan's wearing more like black jeans and John's wearing like blue jeans.
No, I didn't notice that they were so close.
James. Come on, man. You gotta pay.
Well, Jordan's normally wearing black, and he does wear like a red coat or something now and again. But
see, look,
yeah,
red hoodie and a blue hoodie.
Red hoodie and a blue hoodie, black jeans and blue jeans.
And we learned that Lois is being sued. And Lois, is talking about people. She has the truth on her side, and Amanda's like, "Do people even care about the truth?" And then we get the line, "You can stop looking for Cheryl or Gretchen, whatever you want to call her," dropped by Amanda.
Yeah. Which she tells Clark she all but confirmed that Cheryl's dead.
Mm-hmm. Now the next scene I like because this is where Clark, before Clark, we saw him before. He says, "I'm going to take a play out of Lex's book." He shows up and Lex is talking to Bash when Superman arrives, and Clark references him playing dress up. That all he did was shave his face and put on a suit. And he basically he's like, "That doesn't feel like you. Is Amanda calling the shots? Is she in control? Is this her idea?" And then he says, Lex is like, "I'm coming after everything that you've ever loved." And he says, "Nice tie." And he leaves. And then Lex rips that tie off as soon as he leaves and starts like,
"Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh."
Took off his tie and his sport coat, threw him down. Yeah. He got in his head hard.
But I mean, it also feels like right with this Lex because even in the flashbacks, he wasn't wearing a suit. He was still Levi's Lex.
Yeah.
We learned that Lois has her own masterclass book. Chapter 7 is Clark's favorite. Go back to the beginning. He makes the comment of, together we are unstoppable. I can't read my own handwriting.
I feel that sometimes.
Oh, I said it's funny because I'm watching it and I'm writing. At one point I actually had to pause it to write everything because so much was going on. But I said it's funny because there's a crowd outside Vicky Mays and people are like trying to get the autograph and pictures with the boys. But then nobody's at the Gazette bothering Lois and Clark. Until Clark steps outside and he whispers, "Boys, can we talk for a minute?" And then everyone's like, "Oh, Superman!" And the boys walk over, and he's like, "Well, let's give the people what they want." And all three of them take off flying.
Yeah,
which is awesome. But still,
I love how they can just come and go now, though.
Yeah, but no one bothers Lois at the Gazette. And speaking of the Gazette, the paper's starting to fail because all the advertisers are pulling their advertisements because, as she states, they're on her side, but nobody wants to be associated with her.
Yeah.
Which is so sad that that happens, but we see that in real life.
They used the Godfrey character really well, I must say. Just for one episode and reference, and planting that doubt and suspicion back on Lois and Superman. Yeah.
I said to Jania when the boys and Clark are standing there and he's like, let's give the people what they want. He could have easily slipped in. It would have been cheesy, but worked. He could have been like up and away. And then the three of them just went, pff. I was like, it would have worked.
It would have, because they've done so much cheese in this show. I mean,
But it
like
just,
we've discussed, just the glasses, pull off with such triumphant music.
but it's just like, it's one of those, like he's told the boys, like, let's give the people what they want, up and away. It's like he's asking them, like, let's do it, and it works.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it would have worked. It would have worked, and it would have been a great line.
Lex makes Amanda the second largest Luthor Corps shareholder. And then we're seeing Amanda believe that Luther's, bringing her into his fold. John and Jordan are at the fortress and they battle a hologram of John Henry Irons' suit. Clark makes the statement that when John Henry arrived, he was there to kill him, and his suit was powerful, and he almost killed him at Superman at his best. And basically, during this time, Clark has the boys fight, and he does a simulation, and we get the statement later while he's still in the fortress that John and Jordan will never be what Cal was. Their human DNA limits them. So they'll never be as powerful as he was as Superman. Now, on the flip side of that, as we were talking about, in the comics, John is being referenced as if he's going to be more powerful than Superman, Clark.
Yeah, that's a very comic book kind of trope. It's the opposite. Every time they write something in like a television or a film format or something, like whenever you blend the human DNA with somebody else's, it's always a watered down mix. Whereas like in the comics, with John, they reference exactly that, him possibly being more powerful than Superman. And it's the mixture of the two. So they did the same thing in Dragon Ball Z with Gohan, him being half Saiyan, half human.
So now Lois, on her mission back to the beginning, visits Stryker's Island. And who does she visit, James?
Oh, Bruno Mannheim. It was great to see him back.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And going back to when Janine and I were watching it, we were talking, she was talking about, what's Mannheim's talking to Lois about why they framed Luthor and all this. I was like, Jania, Mannheim represents kind of that mob boss, while Luthor is the supervillain. Like there's an honor code behind what Bruno Mannheim was doing. Like he's more of that mafia gangster where there's, there's good intentions even in his evil, even in his crime. He was doing something for the people, and he talks about what Luthor was doing to people in suicide slums in Hobbs Bay before Superman and Lois took notice. And that's why they had to put Luthor away. And then Luthor represents the supervillain. She also drops the line, and did you catch it, where she says they're not saying she's completely cancer-free yet?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. I thought that's what the last episode was about, was that she doesn't have cancer, but I guess she's not cancer-free.
It was the last of the last that she didn't have to go through any more treatments. Now they have to. Now the surgery is to remove any leftover cancer, things like that. Like it's the stages of treatment,
Mm. She wants his help putting Luther away with the truth. Then we go to Milton. And I think Milton's been such an interesting kind of red herring where everyone just assumed it was going to be Brainiac. They've never called him Milton Fine, just Milton. And everyone's been like, it's Brainiac. No, it's not. He talks about improving the suit with kryptonite screws to dig into Superman's chest. That's heavy.
Yeah.
And then he asks, have you ever been in the military? He's like, because I found a Captain Luther file. And
Yeah, something that John deleted, but apparently didn't scrub any trace of.
And then we find out that the DoD had a file on Project Doomsday, which is like all the stuff they put together about who and what Doomsday was. And we see that afterwards, Lois did an interview talking about how she got Doomsday to leave. We find out that Bruno knew Cheryl and that Cheryl was actually in love with Luther and was kind of Amanda, 1.0.
Yeah, Amanda's more like Cheryl 2.0.
Yeah. Clark, the revelation that Clark needs to figure out not what the boys can't do, but what they can do. And he takes some sparring. And it's interesting because he talks about how much of he's like, when I had to train, I trained alone. I trained in the farm alone, in the fortress alone.
Yeah.
Oh, and John's like, do you need a hug?
Yeah.
Something? Like, that sounds so sad.
Yeah, that was really funny. It was a nice family line. Just your son's busting your balls.
And then he's like, hit me. And so, they start sparring with their dad and trying to fight their dad. Then we cut back to Luther, who's now in Smallville, because he thinks he figured out where Doomsday is.
Mm-hmm.
And Amanda's like, she shows up and sees Milton and is freaking out. Like, that's not part of the plan. And then she shows up in Smallville and she's like, what are you doing? That's not part of the plan. He's like, maybe not your plan. And then he turns to her and yells in her face, I can do whatever I want. And then he calls the suit. And now we have Luther in the suit. It's kind of come full circle in a way because that's what we thought in the first season was we had a Luther in the suit when we heard the Captain Luther.
Yeah. And I love his heads up display in this. It's got the octagonal shapes or hexagonal shapes and their blue green outline and purple in the center. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I like that. They're like, the suit looks the same, but not on the inside.
Yeah. So Luther goes to the mines. And who does he find in the mines?
Doomsday.
Breathing
fire, trying to break back through the mine portal to his world.
And I do we feel that kind of undoes what happened in the previous episode where he was like flying out into space? Like to learn that he flew out into space just to come right back to Smallville in the mines. And he's been down there and nobody's hurt him.
Right, pounding away at the ground and the.
But Lex comes up to him, talking to him about how they're the same, born of pain. And then he shoots special new missiles into Doomsday right as Clark. He's like, I'm going to kill you again. And you'll be born more. He shoots missiles into Clark, and Clark shows up right as it explodes. And we see his body kind of starting to come out.
Yeah, we get the classic Doomsday fist coming up out of the ground.
And when Clark was flying in, Jania says, "I love seeing the ring on his finger." As Superman.
Yeah, because I don't think it was on there before, but now he's like, I
It,
don't have to hide. I'm married.
it was in the last episode. We got that great shot of him busting through the glass.
Right. Well, I mean, previously, before
no.
his secret was.
Oh yeah, before his secret was out, yeah, it was always off.
Mm-hmm. It's a nice little detail.
So Doomsday, basically Lex's plan is he's going to make all of Smallville pay, and he's going to release Doomsday on Smallville to destroy the entire town because they rejected him, even though he offered them millions. And there's a line that Milton says, like, "There's nothing that can kill or stop this thing," and Lex says something alluding to that there is a way to do it. Because when Doomsday does show up and Lois is trying to talk to him, they realize that he's even less conscious than before. So it seems like every time he died and came back, maybe a little bit more of who he was diminished. Because she said what was in there now is not there anymore.
Yeah.
So, but what do you think about Doomsday's look?
I mean, he looks great. All the spines, all the spikes coming out of his shoulders, out of his face, out of his chin. I mean, I think he looks really cool. For the most part. I dug the evolution, but yeah, this final form is pretty dope.
I like that they finally did more spikes. His chin is kind of. It reminds me. His chin looks like if you had a beard and you got it wet, then it got frozen.
Yeah, right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the ice or snow that's on your beard when it's like freezing.
Yeah,
is what it looks like. I like that he still does have more of the human eyes, though.
Yeah,
it makes it a little bit more creepy.
It does. But I do like his eyes. I like the way they look, and I love the way how he's like looking out from almost like a bone helmet now.
Yeah. He looks more straight up like Doomsday. I like that they keep evolving him. So Clark starts to battle with him, and he tells the boys to get everyone to safety. And Jordan busts into Vicky Mays and tells everybody to leave, and then finds Vicky May like having a panic attack behind the counter, and he gets right next to her and talking her down. He takes a cup and uses his cold breath and hands it to her and tells her to hold it. And he makes the comment, when I had my panic attacks, holding something cold would help stop it. And then he gets her out of there. But we have a crazy scene of like him covering her, and you just see Clark and Doomsday come flying in behind.
Yeah. After he gets her calmed down, he says, now close your eyes. And then he just kind of kneels over her and guards her for them coming through the building.
And then we see Denise is working when a car goes flying at her, and John catches it. I made a comment here. I said, couldn't they all three like use their heat? Couldn't all three of them use their heat vision together to kind of like heat up John's suit and like force Lex out of it because it'd be too hot, maybe, or they could melt.
That would be cool.
But we get Clark thrown to the ground, and we get this shot right here of Clark looking at Lois and says, "I love you all." And then Doomsday grabs him by the head and flies off, and that's the episode.
Yeah, he says, "I always," and he grabs him and flies off.
And Jania says, he's not going to die. He can't. He can't lose any more people, Tyler. And that's the end of what really is a 2-part finale.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a
So,
2-part premiere and a 2-part finale.
but I mean, the next episode is going to pick up right where this one left off.
Yeah,
Like,
being taken away.
yeah, because they released the final episode trailer that I actually watched, and they released pictures for next week's episode, and it's all the same like set of them on the street. And if you haven't watched that trailer yet, like it gives you the feels. Me and Jania watched it right after this episode ended, and she was like, it gave me all the feels.
No, I have not.
I really like this episode. I don't want this show to end, especially with, now you have both kids with their powers and Supergirl Sayla running downstairs like a crazy person. But yeah, I don't want the show to end. Like, it's my favorite, and it just keeps evolving these characters. Tyler as Superman is my favorite, and it's gonna be tough. And we're gonna try to do something special next week for the final episode. So stay with us. James.
Yeah,
thoughts?
I mean, thoughts. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Fantastic episode. Since the show is going out now, I am happy they knew, and I'm happy that they were able to come together and pull together a cohesive, amazing final season. Like, every episode was good, even the 1 or 2 episodes that you talked about that might have felt filler
That was
here
just
or there. I don't even really feel like, either one of those episodes really was. So, just such
that
a
was just
great,
the last episode. We said,
yeah.
that could be considered, but
Yeah, just such a good show, such a good episode. Tyler is a great Superman. He's a great Clark. I love the human aspect of this show.
I agree, and I think that's what makes the show, apart. And I ask you this question. I wonder, because we know that how they ended season 3. It makes me wonder how they would have done season 4 differently, knowing that if it wasn't their final season. Like, I'm curious what would have been different. So we can speculate more on that next week as we bring the final episode of Superman and Lois, thus ending the Arrowverse completely, the DC presence on the CW,
which started with Superman in Smallville, Clark Kent, and ended with Superman and Lois.
And also it brings our current DC show coverage to an end. But as we wrap up, there's one thing I wanted to ask you that I meant to bring up earlier. Did you see this thing on YouTube? These DC Heroes United, the first episode, Dawn of Heroes. It's like me and Sayla pulled it up, but it's a animated kind of choose your adventure type show, I guess. Curious about it. It's on YouTube. Check it out. But yeah, I don't know much about it because didn't really.
It's funny we were talking about that. No, that's we discussed the trailer, and it was kind of, we had discussed it was something like a pick and choose your way, your adventure, or something like that. But I had just seen that the first episode had dropped, but no, I have not looked at it yet. But it's funny, we were just talking about the promo, and the CW network just dropped Superman and Lois final trailer extended on
Nice.
YouTube. So just for your reference there, for anybody's knowledge, if they want to check that out before the finale.
And
It's a
then
hype
speaking
moment,
of,
man.
one thing else I was going to bring up during our news. So I don't know what's going on, but originally the Harley Quinn series was supposed to come out before the end of this year, and we have gotten nothing. It looks like it might premiere in January, and it's going to be around 10 episodes, maybe. It's, I don't know. I'm seeing things saying it's delayed, but it was supposed to come out in November because it was supposed to be done by the end of this year.
We had seen something that it said it was expected to come out in November. I don't think we ever saw an official release date for it. I know
we didn't. No, we didn't get. We didn't get an official release date, but we
haven't even gotten a trailer for it.
Nothing, and it was supposed to be out before we basically was, because we have Creatures Commandos coming in like a week.
Yeah, we do have that, and then I mean coming like next year, like the only thing we're looking at is later in the year. Isn't until July.
We have, is Superman in July,
and then so
Peacemaker,
I mean maybe they
August.
just want a DC presence sometime in the earlier part of the year.
It would make sense.
I need to check on something real fast.
But hey, that's it. While we're here.
Hold on. Well, yeah, while we're here. So Watchmen Chapter 2 has come out with like a freaking whisper, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I just saw it like, oh, the digital's on sale today or yesterday, and the 4K Blu-ray will be out next week. Like, oh, okay, then.
They kept the release date quiet. I saw no trailer or nothing, and then all of a sudden I kept looking because they put the first one on Max, and then all of a sudden it was like, on Tuesday, own Watchmen Part 2. Which is crazy because that's the part that's really going to be more true to the book, that's different than the movie, is the second half.
Well, I mean, when it comes to the story, anyways, much of what we saw in the manner that it's told in the movie, the live action movie, the book, and this animation, the first half is your kind of slower half, your mystery, a lot of your world building, all that stuff, and that's what part was. So yeah, I mean, part 1 was. So everybody's wanting to see what chapter 2 brings because it's what everybody wants to see out of the Watchmen story.
Right. And like you said, they just kind of like dumped it.
Yeah. Just I had no idea, and I literally was scrolling on Blue Sky and I saw it. I was like, seriously?
Yeah. I did not see that it was coming until Monday on a post that said own it tomorrow.
Wow. I didn't see it till today.
And I even checked, I think last week, and to see what the release date was, and it still said just pre-order, release date coming. So they kind of just dumped it.
Wow. I guess after chapter 1, they just didn't expect any return on chapter 2, so they're like, why even market it, you know?
I guess
the people who are interested in seeing it are the ones who are gonna see it, and that's what they were like.
I guess, but until next time, everybody.
Look up in the sky!
Thank you for joining us today on the Krypton Report. We ask that you check out our social media. We have a YouTube where we do YouTube specials. You can check out our dollar Patreon, like we talked about, where we do specials. Check the QR code here. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on X and all other social media.
Look up in the sky.
Tyler here. Hope you're enjoying the podcast today. I just want to talk about another project I've really been working on. It's the Requel. It used to be just part of our Patreon, and we still do Patreon exclusives, but I've really pumped it up, and I've started inviting friends to join me as we pitch movie ideas. I ask everyone if they can go and check it out. It's under Jonathan Tyler Patrick on my YouTube, and go like it, subscribe, and if you want to come on and pitch an idea, come on. Just check it out. It's a fun time.
I am Brian Peters, the creator and host of Gravely Amusing. For the past 30 years, I've studied the history of gods and monsters in pop culture and our world. As a student of theology and history, I've tried to understand evil and its impact on us. As a writer, I've tried to share this knowledge. As a comedian, I've tried to make people laugh as I do it. But as a man-child, I'm still that scared 7-year-old boy. Join me as I share the history of horror and sci-fi, discuss classic and modern pop culture, and share a creepy story or two. This podcast may scare you, it may horrify you, or it may leave you gravely amused. Listen to Gravely Amusing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever podcasts are found. Follow us on Twitter at gravely_amusing or on TikTok at Gravely Amusing.
We have a $1 Patreon. Yes, I know everyone asks for money, but our $1 Patreon each month gets you commentary tracks for releasing movies, DC movies. It gets you my Requel series where I pitch ideas about movie sequels, prequels, or whatever. It also gets special bonus episodes. So check that out for $1 a month. That's all we ask. Keep it cheap, keep it simple, and help us keep going. Check out the link in the show notes or Patreon Krypton Report.